Hello and a warm welcome to you as we explore the scenario that was provided to our team for our group project and how we solved the problem within the situation. My name is Sarah Rocky and I'm part of the team of Team Rehab Collab, and I'll introduce my team in just a little bit. Here's an overview of what our presentation will go over. For this session, we've included an overview of our company's charter, our mission and vision statement, a strategic plan, the process we plan to implement to resolve the issue within our clinic, and to recap at the end to see how our clinic has changed in its process workflow. Our team consists of 3 individuals, Georgia, Kesha, and myself, Sarah. We assigned ourselves roles and completed actions based on the parameters of our roles. The goals of our session is to turn chaos into clarity. As a team, we wanted to explore a way to improve the process that our rehab clinic is experiencing to stunt occurrences like this from happening in the future. For further reference, here is the issue we are having at our rehab clinic, where we provide physical and occupational therapy to patients based upon the needs prescribed by their physicians. I encourage you now to go ahead and pause this presentation to read the scenario in full so you'll have a better understanding of the dilemma we face. Our focus is to identify the system, to develop a method, research, and collect data, and then document the process. Before we can make any changes to the process we currently have, we presented our ideas to the board. We created a team charter to lay out our project description, our team objectives, and our team deliverables. At our clinic, our hope is for every patient to have the best experience possible, from when they schedule their appointments to being discharged after completing their therapy. With this in mind, we have established our mission statement, vision statement, and our strategic plan with this in mind. Our mission statement is to provide a patient-centered environment where rehabilitation is performed and met to the individual's specific needs while optimizing recovery, function, and quality of life. Next, we have our vision statement, which is to improve and maintain our pre-rehab process, keeping all involved well informed and preparing for the patient's arrival. Our strategic plan is to review all key stakeholders' processes, determine process vulnerabilities, align continuous quality improvement team, determine best practices and goals, implement our findings, and long-lasting improvements. Before we could begin making changes to our clinic, we had to understand where the issues were deriving from. So we had to explore reasons why patients were showing up without prescriptions from their referring physician, or with the prescription that does not include a diagnosis to meet medical necessity requirements. In order for the treatment plan to be covered by insurance, we needed to receive the treatment plan along with the diagnosis that pertains to why the patient is needing the therapy. We started out by investigating and observing our front of office team to see how the patients were being referred, and if the referring provider knew to submit a prescription for the therapy being requested. Next, we checked with our back of office staff, and they see when they were scheduling the patients if they were verifying that the prescriptions were being attached to the schedule for continuity of care. This would ensure that the right treatment is being provided to the patient based on the recommendation of their physician for the right diagnosis associated. We also needed to do some research to see what was going on outside of our clinic to determine if it was an internal or an external problem. We compiled a list of referring physicians that referred patients to us on a regular basis for therapy and determined if there were any that were telling their patients to report to our rehab clinic for therapy without the prescription.
Hi, this is Georgia Smith here to talk to you about the process flow portion of our project. In our clinic, our process started with a patient being referred for physical or occupational therapy for treatment. Initially, once a prescription was received, the back of office or the back office staff would review the script, and therapy services would be scheduled based on the plan of treatment indicated by the referring provider or the diagnosis for the purposes of our project. However, we did begin to notice that some scripts did not come with the required diagnosis code pertaining to the therapy requested. This is required by CMS, so this is a problem. We would have to be sending those referrals back and forth to that provider. A couple of workflow processes we wanted to iron out here would be, could the EMR be integrated with Rehab Collab's required forms so no fields would be missed, as in, the EMR could not progress past that point or past the referral. This is now included in the workflow here in the referral process. And then if a paper form is needed, so if that office is not integrated with the proper interoperability workflow, they would have to contact Rehab Collab directly for that required form. And then here at the end of the workflow, you'll notice that an appointment cannot or will not be scheduled until all the required information in that required form is supplied by the referring provider. Another consideration our group took a little bit further was that you'll see up here in this cloud here on our workflow is that if the patients could self-refer through an appointment portal, and that would generate a Rehab Collab referral form to be sent electronically to their provider of choice. This is a future state and is currently being worked through, but we did think that that was important to call out, that that's something that in the future we would like to explore and make possible. From our so how we arrived at this workflow is, and also the data collection tools we arrived at this workflow were from our EMR system. We were able to pull data from previous prescriptions entered in for our patients. From this data analysis, we were able to gather information regarding the type of therapy, the length of therapy, and if a diagnosis was initially associated with the prescription, if a script was initially missing and later addended, as well as the facilities the scripts were coming from. So analyzing this further, we did determine what common errors were coming from outside facilities. And then we also wanted to get the patient's input on their experience as well, to get that patient satisfaction element. With this in mind, we wanted to know, were they informed that the script needed diagnosis or needed these required elements? The ease of scheduling an appointment. And we made this survey available through patients in the clinic and also online through a QR code that they were given either in the clinic or emailed to the patient after their visit. And then also, at the end, let's get real. What ultimately prevented us from receiving this prescription in a timely manner? What prevented us from receiving all of the required items? And what basically blocked us from scheduling that patient? We had to explore different aspects of the workflow and the cycle to see which gears needed to be oiled, so to speak. So with the data collected and the analysis we did from the outside clinics, we determined that prescriptions were being sent for therapy without all the required information and to process the script, and most commonly was the required diagnosis. The only professional thing we can do in this instance is send back a letter declining to schedule the patient, stating that CMS guidelines were not met. We do have to have that required diagnosis. And, with that gentle nudge to the facility, we usually do get things back. However, the downside of this is that the patient's therapy is delayed. This causes us to fall down on our mission statement. So this is not something we want to do. That's why we wanted to oil that workflow, make sure that workflow is operating appropriately. Within our clinic, we saw that our back end and our front end staff was not adequately trained to make sure that that script contained all the required elements and to verify that that script was filled out entirely. And then, utilizing that health information technology knowledge that we have even further, we did some community outreach to make sure that interoperability was there to embed that Rehab Collab referral form into the EMR when Rehab Collab was selected as the preferred therapy provider. By doing so, no fields can be missed during that referral process.
According to CMS.gov, at minimum, the plan of care must contain diagnosis, long-term treatment goals, type of rehab therapy services, therapy amount, frequency, and duration. So in short, in order for Medicare or Medicaid to approve reimbursement to the facility, the script has to include plan of care and be approved by the physician. From our beginning workflow, we realized changes were needed to incorporate more new scenarios. For instance, what if an electronic component were incorporated for the Rehab Collab referral form? This way, the required diagnosis would have to be completed before forwarded to the office for scheduling. Furthermore, A continuous loop is never a good workflow if the result will send the process around and around. A definite end and starting point was needed to achieve a satisfac- satisfying outcome for providers and patients alike. Through data analysis and survey outcomes, we were able to incorporate an electronic referral process, a streamlined paper referral process, and considerations for self-refer process in the future. After conducting research, we redesigned our referral script process at Rehab Collab to minimize errors causing delay of treatment. Our survey concluded that 25% of patient families surveyed dealt with diagnosis missing from scripts referrals when presented to us. 60% of referrals were incomplete and 15 had other issues. Rehab Collab added features are EMR integration possibilities. Referrals can now be sent to us via EMR and or email and fax. This will help with delay of treatment and minimize errors. If errors are found, they can be corrected in a timely manner. Not all providers use EMRs, and some use a hybrid system. That's where the email fax method is used in our process. Outpatient rehab can be audited for too many deficiencies. This is outlined in the third bullet point. Check it out on cms.gov.